Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everyone. If you're a caregiver, you know somebody who is, you know it's a challenging situation to be in. A lot of things from medical to personality clashes, family, all that's involved. It can be a challenge, but to help you navigate through that, practicing gratitude can make a huge difference. It can make a huge difference in your life in general. We're going to talk about gratitude today through the eyes of a caregiver. She is a caregiving coach. That's what she helps people with, navigate all of this stuff. And she's back with us as our professional of the year. Marika Humphreys is on the program. How you doing today?
I am doing good. I'm doing well and practicing a little gratitude for the sun that is shining here in Washington. That is one thing. So I'm from California and before I moved out to Washington was living in California and the sun shines a lot in California. And when I came to Washington, we get a lot more rain, which I'm also thankful for. But now when the sun comes out, it's like I'm very
Mm.
grateful for the sunshine, something I used to take for granted. So, in that theme, yes.
I'm grateful for you with the information you provide because I don't know anybody else that's doing that for people that are in these caregiving situations. And funny you should say grateful for the sunshine. I have a gratitude journal that I write in or try to every day. Just list three things. Simple. The
Yeah,
date, I am grateful for three things. And I believe yesterday or the day before, I wrote sunshine. I'm not even kidding. I'm not
there
even
you
kidding.
go.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what somebody told me too while we're talking about the gratitude journal? I would assume you would agree that it's a good practice.
Oh, absolutely. I think there are several ways that we can practice gratitude, and the gratitude journal is probably the easiest or one of the easiest, one of the
Right.
most accessible, one of the most common, and something that I think everybody should try. And then I do have some other ways that you can do it if that doesn't quite sit with you. But yeah, gratitude journal is fantastic.
So I have questions based on that. Um, I've learned that for it to work, you have to truly be intentional. And what I mean by that is I was writing in my gratitude journal in the morning,
Yeah.
right before I would leave in the morning. I'm like, oh, what? Oh, I'm going back and write in there, take it out of the nightstand, go right down. Um, while I was doing it, I don't think I was very intentional. I was just
Mm.
doing it because I got to make sure I do it. And the things I would write in there, I truly mean. But I've changed it around. Somebody made a suggestion. Do it at night before bed. You'll sleep way better. And when you do it, sit on your bed and put your feet on the floor so you're grounded in writing in your journal. So I started doing that, and they even said, you'll notice a big difference in 14 days. So I'm about halfway there now. I just
Yeah.
heard this. But your thoughts on all of that, the journal, what to write. I think a lot of people need the tutorial. What do I write? How do I do that? Can I
Yeah.
just write three things?
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah. I want to back up a little bit because I will say, and I think this is still true for me. I have struggled with with having a gratitude practice. So we say being grateful, and then there's a gratitude practice. And the difference is people talk about like a meditation practice. It's something you do on a regular basis
Hmm.
versus just, we get a gift and we say thank you, or we have that normal appreciation or gratitude for something on occasion. Um, and the difference is about the lasting effects and also how you direct your brain is why having a practice, something that you do frequently or regularly, consistently, is important. And like I said, I've struggled with that in my own life, partly because you had mentioned a little bit like I need to do this, like there's this should aspect, and I was always the good student, and this is I felt always like this is something I should do,
Mhm.
and really struggling with how do I make it meaningful and not just something that I'm doing out of obligation because I'm supposed to. It's like I know I
Right.
should eat right, you know,
Yep.
and there is a difference between eating right and eating because I feel good when I do it, you know. So I just wanted first for those people that struggle with why is this important? I wanted to touch on that because you do literally train your brain on how to think and what to notice in your world. And I will say, at the very least, that is the most, I think, profound thing that just thinking more frequently, even if you don't have a quote unquote practice, just thinking more frequently and starting to ask yourself, what can I appreciate or what can I be grateful for on a more consistent basis? You will start to notice more things. You will simply start to see more in your existing life with nothing changing that is good
Mm.
or that is nice or that you are thankful for. One of the examples I give is I'm in Tacoma, Washington, and Tacoma is a medium-sized city, and but we have a fair amount of homeless people here. And I live in the city in an apartment in the city, and I see them all the time. And I've not lived in an environment where I've see homelessness so frequently and just so close, right? Out on the street, in the park that I walk through. And, part of that, I just really have a newfound appreciation for having a home. And it's not something I would have
Mm.
thought about on a regular basis, but because I see
Yep.
people homeless. So just appreciating something that most of us do take for granted. We take for granted that we have a roof over our head. And, usually we're focused on it's not big enough, it's not clean enough, it's not, I don't have the furniture I want. We think of all the things that we don't like about what we have, as opposed to just the fact that we have a roof over our
Yeah.
head. And most of us have drinking water and electricity and the internet. Those are all things that we, can so easily take for granted. So just that fact alone of seeing what we have and can easily take for granted
I think it's
is
we're
it
always
is
looking for the
powerful.
next best thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
if I where I am right now, it's really good, but I really should be living here, or I have this car, but I'm hoping to get a better one. Well,
Yes.
it's nice to have those aspirations and maybe treat yourself to a certain number of things, but at the same time, be, there's a song that came out when I was a kid, and I'm talking like in the 70s. So I'll date myself. Be thankful for what you got is what the song's called. And they even did
Uh-huh.
a dance version of it. When you look at the lyrics, and you got to take it with a grain of salt. It's from that era. So when they talk about TV antennas on your car, back then that was a cool thing. But just the message and the energy of the song, be thankful for what you got. You know, you may not
Yeah.
drive the most expensive car. That's part of the lyrics. Be thankful for what you got. Be
Yeah.
grateful. And you said practice the practice of keeping gratitude journal. I believe everything is work. So I would even change that word practice and make it gratitude work, because even in
Mm.
meditation, they call it breath work.
Mm.
Everything is work. It is
Yeah.
even making plans for the weekend with your friends. You got to get them all together. What time are we going to meet? Who's driving?
Yeah.
All of that. Let's be honest, it's a little bit of work. It doesn't
Yeah.
come easy.
Yeah.
So it's work. You got to be intentional. But on the back end, there's people I know that practicing gratitude has changed their lives. And I know somebody that is referred to as a gratitude warrior because it's
Mm.
made such a difference in her life. So, uh,
Where I had my first, if you call it an aha moment, I this was my husband was going through his cancer treatments at the time, and we had become big pickleball fans. Pickleball has now become much more common and known, but for a while there, people were like, "What's pickleball?" But so pickleball, if you don't know what it is, go Google it, go give it a try. It's super fun.
mhm.
And we lived in a community with a lot of retired people, so pickleball was really huge, and we had a great community of pickleball players and friends, and we'd all get together, and it's a super social game. You play with a partner. It's a lot of fun. And this was Northern California on a beautiful day. My husband was in a pretty good state, health wise at that time. And I remember, because I also have called myself a recovering perfectionist, I remember getting
Mm.
so mad at myself because I was playing terribly. And I was just like so in my own world of like, why am I just playing so bad and mad at myself and hitting bad shots? It's like a beautiful day on Saturday in Northern California. The sun is shining. I think it was like starting to be early fall. The colors were changing on the trees. We're out with friends. And here I am, all in my own head, like basically pissed off at myself for my bad
Mm.
playing. And it was like a little bit later that I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? Like I could be, and this is a little bit, it's kind of varying on, problem with perfectionism in and of itself and our own stuff. But that is a perfect time where just the fact of here I am with friends on a Saturday in beautiful weather, there is so much to just appreciate. And yeah, maybe my playing is not great and I'm not happy about it, but my focus was so self and what I
Mm.
didn't have and what I wasn't doing and how I wasn't living up to my own expectations, as opposed to just what I did have, which was this wonderful community, this place to play pickleball. My
Yep.
husband was, feeling good. I remember it was a beautiful day too. Like the fall was, the colors were just starting to change, but it was like that crisp, cool, sunny day. And I mean, I can think back now and I remember realizing like how miserable I felt in that moment and how crazy it was to feel miserable over something so small and insignificant, really, right? So that was sort of my I always think of that day because I was so caught up in, and I think we can do that. I mean, use that example. That was my own example, but we do that a lot of times in
Yeah.
our life. And when it's caregiving, right? And it's maybe like, oh, this is a drain on my time, or this I can't, what we're losing because of our caregiving responsibilities, or maybe the person we're caring for isn't always the most pleasant to be around or challenging. I mean, there's so many ways we can find all the negative. And being grateful or working on gratitude for what we do have doesn't diminish the hard pot times. It doesn't mean things aren't challenging and difficult, but they are also beautiful. They are also plentiful. They are also giving. There is also beauty. I always tell, especially, my clients, I always say there is always beauty in the moments no matter how hard of a time you are going through, there is beauty in the moments when you look for it. And that is work. It is work, but it's also suffering when we sit there consumed in our own, misery because we're not playing pickleball well enough. I mean, that's no fun either. So kind of it's like pick your poison, right? And I
Yeah.
would rather put a little effort to start looking for the beauty that I'm missing when I'm focused on the lack or focused on how things aren't good enough or how I don't have enough time or I don't have enough energy. What do you have? What can you appreciate? I got a little bit on a rant there, but
But I totally agree with you. And yeah, we do that. And I believe that we're programmed to be negative from early on. When we're kids, we hear negative things. You're 2 years old, you walk up to the dining room table, you grab the salt shaker, you grab the pepper, and mom or dad says, "Hey, put that down, put that down." You're two. This is magical. Oh my gosh. Look what I
yeah,
found. Look what it does. Not going to hurt anything, but
yeah,
we hear
yeah,
that negativity and then I think we just take that with us. So to your point, wonderful day, enjoying pickleball. You get hard on yourself. I could have done better. I could have. By the way,
yeah.
I'm a reformed perfectionist myself. I
Yes, I think we've talked
totally
about that. Yeah.
it just doesn't support. It's not
Yes.
realistic. And there's many reasons for it. Doesn't it? And
Yeah.
by the way, it goes, I believe, for most of us. Goes back to your childhood too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a little, I haven't done a whole lot of research and study on, brain evolution, but there's a lot of evidence to support that we've evolved to be wired to look for problems and,
Yeah.
threats, essentially, which in our modern day translates to things that are negative, right? Problems
Yeah.
that might come up, things that aren't going well. And that is a evolutionary development so that we stayed alive and we,
Yep.
could find the danger before, and avoid it. And now that's kind of created a lot of just natural tendency to see all the bad things, and why it is work to consciously and deliberately shift your focus. And so getting back to like the gratitude journal, and another one I'll throw out there. So the gratitude journal is just for anybody that hasn't heard of it. I mean, you can Google gratitude practices or ways to practice gratitude, and you will get a ton of suggestions.
Mm.
Gratitude journal, and the common recommendation is like 1 to 3 things. And what I've also heard, and when I did do some research on this too, it's better to be deep than like have depth in your the things that you're grateful for as opposed to quantity. Like we could all make a list of like 10 things, but you are more likely to feel the emotion of gratitude when you go deep into maybe 1 to 3 things. Like, I appreciate my husband because they make me coffee every morning and they know exactly how I like it. And they, are always there, to say good morning or something. Like thinking of a couple things or really going into the why behind what you're writing about. Just it brings you into that emotion, and the more you feel emotion, it takes it from doing sort of a rote exercise because you're told you should, to an actual feeling, an experience of appreciation for whatever it is. One of the things that when I do this, and I'm not super consistent either, my one of the things I constantly give gratitude for is my cat,
Oh,
which,
I'm right there with you.
yeah, I mean, our pets give us tremendous joy. And, it's like it's a constant source. And when I think about it, she's just like the best. She's the best cat I've ever had. She's the most affectionate cat I've ever had. And I'm like, I just appreciate her. And that's such a good place to take yourself, right? To think about what you already have that you can
Hmm.
truly, truly appreciate.
Somebody told me, and I'm trying to remember if I have this right, is you shouldn't show the gratitude for things you earned. It should be things that were given to you. So what was given to you? You didn't earn a cat.
Interesting. I I will say from the outset, this is not my area of expertise, so there may be shoulds and shouldn'ts in there. I think that's probably, to me, it's less important than the emotion it provokes.
I'm
So
with you on that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's all about how we feel, and bringing the reason to feel gratitude is because of how we feel, right? It's much easier, or it feels so much better to to feel grateful for something or appreciative than it is to feel frustrated or angry or resentful or lacking or insufficient or all of those other emotions. So whatever it is that you can cultivate, I even think like
Mm.
gratitude and pride, self-pride in a positive way. I mean, I think we have some mixed thoughts around what pride means, but something you worked really hard and you're proud of yourself for, you can also be grateful that you put in the effort to, to achieve something. And so I feel like it's the emotion that's important
Well, you
than
you know
what you're
what?
focused on.
You could always flip it any way you want. Like, for example, if they say, or some say, that you shouldn't be grateful for things that you earned. All right. So I have a job. I made money. I bought this. So I'm grateful for, that car. I earned that car. But you could also say, I'm grateful for the talent that I have. You didn't necessarily earn that
Yeah.
talent. You were given that talent, some believe, to get you
Yeah.
there. But either way, I'm 100% with you that it should be what you feel. And I think that maybe goes back to what I was saying in terms of intentional, where I was writing in my gratitude journal, like I
Yeah.
wasn't feeling it. I was just writing it.
Yes.
So, that cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Well, here's that,
Yeah.
I treat myself every day. I'm grateful for it. But I'm also grateful for the growers. I'm grateful for the person, the barista. I'm grateful for the people that made the packaging and all of that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I think that's I think a great place to often if you're struggling to look for things that you're grateful for or to find things you're grateful for, like all the services and the thinking about like you just mentioned, all the um the behind the support that goes into
Sure.
making it so that we can buy a cup of coffee and all the things that support that. Like all the people that made that happen. I mean, we don't usually think about those things,
You know,
and yet it's a convenience that most of us enjoy. um
and when you look at it as a caregiver, taking stock in those things that you're grateful for, grateful that the person you're caring for maybe showed some progress that day. They're feeling better. Those little tiny things. Grateful the doctor called me back. Oh my gosh, when does that happen? I'm grateful,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, or that you have the ability, whether even if it's difficult, to be able to give them care and whatever, like
Hmm.
just being thankful that you can do that. And a lot of times it's, yeah, but I don't have the time, or it's, we kind of focus on all the things it takes from us, but the ability or who you get to be, meaning the person that you get to be to
Hmm.
care for someone. I mean, that is sort of taking that, yeah, the situation and flipping it on its head. I mean, I think that is almost the best time to be grateful. Like I was just reading, I wrote an article about this a couple of years ago, and I was very focused on people who are caring for a partner going through cancer treatment. And one of the things I gave an example of is like, how does this work in the real world? And I remember from my own experience, I mean, going to the doctor and, getting what is pretty common treatment is either radiation or chemotherapy or both. It's still pretty common treatments for cancer. And both of those treatments have a lot of challenge. I mean, they're
Sure.
hard treatments. They're
For
hard on the
sure.
body. They're hard on the energy. They have all these physical side effects. And so I remember going to the doctor and, having the outline of all the at the time it was radiation treatments, I think that my husband had to go through. And, we were both kind of glum after that. So where's the gratitude there? How do you find that? I mean, it's
Hmm.
seemingly hard from the outset, but there are always ways that you can think about something. The fact that we had a plan. A lot of times with cancer, sometimes you don't have a plan. I mean, in the sense of the doctors don't quite know what's going to work, or they're in this period of trying to figure it out. You can focus on, okay, this is what we're going to go through now. How can we best, like for me as his spouse, I could then say, okay, well, he's going to go through this radiation treatment and it's going to be hard. Now that I know that, I can then focus on how do I support him the most? Like I can be grateful for that, right? I can move beyond, since I know what the plan is, now I can move beyond what can I do about it? Where is my power here to help him the best that I can? Like I can be grateful for that. It allows me to move forward. So it's
Hmm.
all, I mean, and that is a powerful. I mean, we're talking about shifting how you think about something, but I could sit there and dwell on how awful this is going to be, and it's going to be hard for me, and it's going to be hard on our family. I could focus on that, or I could focus on, and what can I do about it? And that from that place, I'm going to feel empowered. I'm going to be looking for the future. I'm going to be focused on solutions, not problems. It just shifts thinking from that, what can I appreciate about this very difficult thing, shifts how our brain works.
It's a great point. It really is,
Yeah.
grateful. I have a treatment plan. So many people, the doctor's not really sure. It's kind of up in the air. You have a direction. You have something to be
Yes.
grateful for. Uh,
Yes.
we're just about out
Yes.
of time. You are somebody, this is just a tiny piece of what you offer in terms of
Yeah.
coaching people through the caregiving process. Simple to find you. It's your name, your website, right?
Yep. Yep. Coach Marika. My website is Coach Marika, and on there you will find my podcast. You will find links to set up a consultation with me. Um, and there's a free little training on there as well, too. So
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Marika is Marika. And this whole gratitude thing, it's universal. It doesn't just apply to caregiving, but it can be very impactful and helpful when you practice it there as well. Thank you so much for today. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Great,
Really do.
Steve.
Thanks.
I appreciate talking to you.
I appreciate talking to you too. And we'll talk soon. We're coming right
All right.
back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.